What is going on, everybody? It's Tuesday night. Time to talk some football. I had to make a little wardrobe change there real quick and go back with the old classic hat. So, you guys know me, SAJ, Loudmouth of the South, coming to you live from my house. Like, I got nothing on that.
What is up, everybody? I'm BD. You know what? Today, I'm going to come at you from the Crystal Palace studios. Jay, I don't know if you remember that place. It was the skating rink off of De Zavala I-10 area, right next to the bowling alley.
I do. I remember that place.
Yep. Crystal Palace, but, you know, thinking of it now, like, doesn't sound like it'd be the name of an ice skating rink. Sounds like it'd be the name of something else, some shady business, but.
Yep. Probably something that you wouldn't want to be messing around with.
Oh, so, I got my co-stars yelling at me in the back over there.
Cool. So, obviously, you know, things are kind of starting to wind down. We are officially in that dead airspace between conference championships and the Super Bowl. Brian, what did you think of those games?
Well, obviously, I mean, I had both my picks wrong. You know, that Commanders-Eagles game was kind of brutal. I mean, Commanders kept it close for 3 quarters. It was 11-point lead going into the fourth quarter for Philly, and then just that fourth quarter, just the freaking wheels came off for Washington, and you know, they had turnovers on downs, they had interceptions, they had fumbles, you know, and every time they gave Philly the ball, Philly would go score a touchdown. So, you know, it ended up being Philly scored 55 points, the highest scoring, you know, conference final ever. You know, it was crazy. And like I said, you know, Washington had a chance, even, you know, for 3 quarters of the game. Even the first part of that fourth quarter, but they just shot themselves in the foot too much. I mean, they had, 4 fumbles or something looks like they had 2 fumbles in the first half, and, like fumble in the fourth quarter, interception, and then a couple turnovers on downs, you know, and like I said, I mean, once Philly got the ball, freaking, they were, you know, who they had their damn third string running back, whatever. I think they said he had like 80 rushing yards all year, you know, broke for a freaking 75-yard run. So, you know, I think after a couple of those turnovers and scores, just Washington, they weren't in it anymore.
Yep. I did get to watch some of this one, and as soon as Saquon broke off that first run for like 60-something yards.
Was the first play of the game or something?
Yeah, it was like, okay, this is not going to end well at all. I'm really surprised that Washington was able to hang in as long as they did. But, you know, at the end of the day, the Eagles have it, man. The Eagles have the hot hand right now.
Yeah, it was crazy. You know, I mean, Washington, first quarter, they dominated the time of possession. It was something like 12 minutes to 3 minutes. But, you know, that's what happens when you have a 60-yard rush for a touchdown, and then, you know, the Washington fumbled it and gave, you know, Philly had a pretty quick strike to score a touchdown on the second drive. So, you know, you dominate time of possession, but by the end of the first quarter, you're down 14-3.
Yeah. So I'm trying to look back at the stats and see if I can find the time of possession here. Um, Not really seeing it. Um, I see the Washington did. I mean, Washington threw a pick. Philly was a 6% third down efficiency. Oh, time of possession. Here we go. It doesn't give it by quarter, but we're looking at Philly had the ball for 30 minutes and 31 seconds. Washington had the ball for 29 minutes 29 seconds for
Yeah,
almost.
and that was all. That was all mostly second half because once Philly freaking third quarter, fourth quarter, it was over.
Yeah. It looks like, in the first quarter, you had that Washington fumble. The only points they got was from a field goal. Second quarter, another field goal. Then they got a touchdown, and then they had another fumble, and then another field goal. And so going into the into the half, you know, Washington was still behind by a good
12 points.
yeah, 12 points, give or take. I'm trying to do math here real quick. So, yeah, it was one of those things where you were like, I don't know. And then third quarter, they come out and, hey, man, they're ready to play some football. And they, put some points on the board to get it within striking distance, right? And then that fourth quarter, man, just goose eggs, man. Turnover on downs, interception, another turnover on downs. They couldn't do anything. There was just kind of dead in the water, and Philadelphia just rolls away with the win. So we've talked mess, especially the NFC East teams bagging on Philly all year long, and they're the ones standing at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
As much as we may not like it, well, you guys specifically, I don't really care. But as much as you may not like it, that's your NFC representative.
Yep. Hey, you know what? They earned it. So I'll still talk trash about them. I still hate them, but hey, they've earned their spot. So
you'll hate them a little bit less for one game, maybe.
Not necessarily.
I hear you, man. I hear you. So, anyways, yeah, it was a good game. Did not turn out exactly the way we thought. I thought it would be a little bit closer.
Yeah, I definitely, obviously, I picked Washington to win, but I thought it was going to be a close game, and I mean, like I said, it was for 3/4 of the game. So, Washington was like a score and a stop away from taking a lead until that fourth quarter.
Yeah. On the other side, though, close games. I mean, I don't know that you could have asked for a much closer game. Maybe, a 1-point win, something like that. But, Buffalo went down swinging in that game.
Yeah.
And I still can't believe the Chiefs are in, right? This is – I don't know pardon me. Not feeling so good tonight, so I apologize. I don't know what kind of kryptonite Mahomes has over Josh Allen. This is not the first time that they have met, and this is not the first time that Allen has lost to the Chiefs. And man,
well, it's now what the Bills are 3-1 against the Chiefs in the regular season, and now I say Bills, but Josh Allen's Bills, and now 0-4 against them in the playoffs.
Yep.
I mean, and I think we talked about it last week. This is what good teams do. Washington or Buffalo handedly beat KC when they played them in the regular season, and Andy Reid, they kind of took and learned from that. The coaching staff, the team, and they put together a game plan and turned it around. That's kind of what you expect from a team that's now going for a three-peat to do. Controversial calls aside, which, this game still had a couple, but,
yeah,
it is what it is.
I mean, it is what it is. I do think, some. I think the NFL might be taking it a little bit too far, trying to protect their investment in Patrick Mahomes, uh, even to the point where, and I cannot remember. I think it was Joe Mixon had made a comment about playing the Chiefs. And then somebody else commented on Joe Mixon. I want to say it was Joe Mixon. I'll have to go back and look at the
Yeah,
article.
so Joe Mixon was kind of what was non-committal, was just kind of like, oh, we knew it was going to be a tough game or whatever. And former Bengals quarterback, wide receiver, I can't think of his name right now. Had a really long name. Uh, he made a comment, something like, "Oh, it was the refs versus the Chiefs and stuff like that."
Yeah,
Uh, and I believe it was Sports Illustrated contributed that quote to Joe Mixon,
right.
which the NFL fined him for that. Then Joe Mixon comes out and says, complains about it, says, "Hey, I wasn't even the one that made that quote, and you guys fined me for it." And then the NFL fined him again.
Oh wow, I didn't know about the second
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
See, and that's where things have just gone on, too far. That's ridiculous. The guy points out the fact that he didn't do anything wrong. He's getting fined unjustly, and then he gets fined again. I mean, come on, that's just insane.
yeah.
NFL, man, do better, guys. Like that's just you guys should be ashamed of yourselves. Um, who shouldn't be ashamed of themselves though is Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Man, they played a heck of a game. Allen went 22-34, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns. Right. Cook got another two on the ground. And on the opposite side of the ball, Mahomes went 18-26, 245, one passing touchdown. Hunt got one rushing, and then Mahomes got two rushing. And then Worthy, of course, scored the one in the end zone. Um, a lot of back and forth, a lot of struggles. Look at the first quarter. Um, you know, the Bills had the ball for 59 seconds. They could only get 4 yards, total offense on that play, and then they had to punt. And then it goes to Kansas City. Kansas City takes 9 minutes. I'm sorry, 5 minutes, 90 yards, points on the board. Buffalo gets the ball back, takes them 5 minutes to go 40 yards, and they have to settle for a field goal. Then obviously, football gods are kind of smiling on Buffalo a little bit, and because you had that Kansas City fumble in the
I tell you what, though, like there were quite a few fumbles too. I know. I mean, the one that Mahomes, that Buffalo got, but even I think it was, I don't remember if it was the drive before that or a few plays before the one they lost. They had another one. It seemed like just the ball was kind of slick, and I think Buffalo had a couple where they put it on the ground too, but ended up recovering it. I remember like fumbling a lot, and just like I said, they pick them up, but yeah,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
it seemed they had issue.
Josh Allen had 3 fumbles, and Ray Davis had one. It looks like they recovered all of them.
Yeah.
Mahomes is the only one who fumbled. He only fumbled once, but he did lose that one. And I'm sure it had to do with the playing conditions there.
Yeah, and as part of that, I know what play he lost it on. It was one of the the RPOs, and he stuck it in like he was going to hand it to Hunt. As he was pulling it back, he lost control of it and put it on the ground.
Yeah. So again, good football game overall. Pardon me. And it didn't turn out the way probably half of America wanted, because
probably I'm sure like 80% everybody outside of Kansas City, probably.
Okay, let's go with that. But yeah, it did not turn out exactly the way that we thought it was going to turn out. And so now we're looking at, the Kansas City Chefs going up against the Philadelphia Dirty Chickens in the Super Bowl. And there's like 3 or 4 people that probably care, Jeremy being the only one.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Jeremy, I wanted to see the Bills get in. I just wanted to see Josh Allen, get a chance. I know he's really tried, and the team's not a horrible team. I mean, he had an incredible Buffalo team, but he
Yeah, and I
put
mean,
in a lot of work for it.
he he uh he shouldn't be ashamed of anything in this game. I mean, he had a hell of a game. Almost 250 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. No interceptions. Uh, some good rushes. Like he defense just couldn't stop Kansas City. That ultimately that's kind of what it led to, and you just had that last drive, and I mean hell, that fourth down play that Allen made. He almost completed that pass to Kincaid. I don't know how the hell he just chunked it up there, and Kincaid probably should have had it, but they gave a hell of an effort.
Yeah, it's freaking Josh Allen, man. I mean, he does things that most people just can't even seem to fathom. But the one thing he can't seem to do is get into
Beat
the
the
Super
Chiefs in the
Bowl.
playoffs.
Yep. So yeah, we're looking at the Kansas City and Philadelphia 2 weeks from now. Well, a week and a couple of days, right? Because it's Tuesday. We're a little bit off. One thing I had heard on ESPN this morning, this week is super important for the coaching staff. And you normally don't think about it too terribly much, but they're spending the entire week this week developing the game plan so they can start practicing it next week and be ready to go. Because they said once they get there to the Super Bowl, like the week of, it's just absolute pandemonium. You don't really have time for much of anything, because
Yeah.
there's all the press conferences and there's all the people, all the fans wanting to take pictures and just, everything that's going on. So in that chaos, you don't really have time to worry about developing your game plan. Like you have to have that set and you have to make sure that all the players know what it is before you go there so you can actually practice it and just focus on that. Because if you try and do too much from what the coaching staff is saying, and it's all the coaching staff. But if you spend any time working on that
We'll
game
get there,
plan
Jeremy.
while
Hold
you're
on.
there, yeah. What coach? Huh? Did I miss something?
He said, speaking of coaching staff,
Okay.
I think he's talking about my favorite team's coaching decisions, but we'll get there in a second. We'll get there in a second. All right.
We will. So yeah, again, you don't want to develop that game plan the week of. You want to have it the week before, make sure everybody knows it, has it locked in, and then it's actually trying to execute it. And then have a backup because your game plan may not work, right?
Yep.
And Eagles going into this game, there's a lot of pressure on them to win this, to shut Mahomes down. I think Eagles do have the defense to do it, but can they produce? And this right here too, like this is going to be another thing that could potentially be a problem, right? You've got your OC out interviewing for potential head coaching positions. Got the freaking Super Bowl to deal with,
Yeah, but how hard is it to game plan? Give the ball to Saquon. That's the dude's got the easiest job in the league. So,
I mean, you're not necessarily wrong, but I don't think they're going to be able to depend on Saquon nearly as much this game. Would be absolutely insane.
I mean, if they can't depend on Saquon, then there's no way in hell they're winning the game. But
well, maybe. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But that's kind of what we're up against this week. And sorry. that's kind of what we can expect is that, this week it's, game prep, planning, getting travel arrangements together. Well, not travel. I'm sure they already have the travel arrangements, but
Yeah.
getting ready to travel and all that stuff, right? Getting equipment on site and, making sure
because
everybody's ready.
but you're right. Like they've got a plan for this travel. It's not like a regular game. You go up there, a few days before or whatever and get a couple of work. You're there, you know, freaking the week before doing the press tours, doing all that stuff, like this is, you're just basically being herded from one spot to the other. So, it is you have to be mentally there, mentally ready and prepared for this game.
Well, and who knows, man? They
And
probably
the game's in freaking New Orleans. So, there's all kinds of distractions for everybody else.
during Mardi Gras too, no less. So you have that extra complicating factor, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't have staff there already, like starting to get things ready.
Oh, I guarantee you they do. Yeah.
So,
what was that? What was that one player back in the day where he told his teammates whatever, just be careful what you're doing and don't do anything crazy, and ended up getting busted with a hooker the week before the Super Bowl?
oh wow, I don't remember that.
Man, that was like late '90s, early 2000s or whatever. I forget who it was, but
Michael Irving? No.
No. No, I said late '90s, early 2000s. That was like early '90s.
Okay. So yeah, that's what we're kind of up against. We've got a high-powered, Kansas City, who, again, right? I mean, I think this is probably the toughest test of the season that they've had, and they came out ahead. I don't think at any point, maybe in the third quarter they might have been behind, but I don't
think they were ever behind.
Okay. And even if they were, I don't think it would have been a situation where it was like, hey, could this be it? I know a lot, like we said earlier, a lot of people were pulling for Buffalo to pull this off, and they just, they threw everything at it. They just didn't have enough. And, Kansas City rolls on. So I think Philly's going to have a hard time with Kansas City's defense. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have a very difficult time with Philly's defense, though. So I'm not expecting a very high-scoring game. What are you thinking?
Man, I don't think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but I imagine probably somewhere in the mid-20s. I think there'll be some points put on. I'm not ready to make my prediction yet. I think we should do that next week. But
we're not.
I think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be anything like Philly's not going to put up 55 points. And, it's not going to be a game of the teens. So I'd say I imagine it's going to be a 20 points for each team scored in the game.
Yeah, I would see that, pretty decent mid-scoring game. Don't mind my co-host who's deciding. Yeah, this is the newest one.
Oh.
So, yes. Looks like the last one. It's just easier that way. So, obviously, news is finally starting to come out. We had talked about, as we start getting closer to the end of the NFL season, you're going to start hearing more and more about the UFL. And of course, we heard some pretty interesting news today. But what did you think about the signing of Greedy Williams with the Brahmas?
I'm sorry?
I said Greedy Williams with the Brahmas.
He's the former Cleveland Browns cornerback, right?
Yeah, I mean he spent some time on a couple of different rosters.
But he was the one he was drafted by.
He was originally
No, who was I? No, I'm sorry. There was someone else that they picked up that was drafted by Cleveland.
No. Greedy Williams signs with the UFO. I hang on.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I am right. Yeah. Former Browns. He was the second round pick by Cleveland. Greedy Williams.
Yes. This is not the cat show, by the way. Um, trying to bring up his information. Uh, so he's with Cleveland Browns, 19 to 22. He was picked up by Philadelphia after the Browns let him go. Basically, made it, signed a 1-year contract. They got into oh, hey, what's up? We actually have friends from Michigan that are joining us.
Yes.
Pardon me. Super excited to talk to you guys soon because we never really got a chance to find any of your fans. Like, we talked to one person when Michigan played in San Antonio. So,
And you know what? I think we're going to have a chance to talk with them tomorrow.
well, we're going to record tomorrow, and then
Yeah.
it should air sometime. We didn't ask about the schedule. But anyway, so Greedy Brown played with Cleveland 19 to 22. He was drafted by Cleveland second round, I believe it was. Then he played with Philadelphia Eagles for all of about a couple of weeks, signed a 1-year contract, and then was released like by preseason. If you look at his stats, though, his stats are pretty decent, right? And total tackles 99, 2 interceptions, 12 passes deflected, and 1 forced fumble. That's also considering the fact that he only played 2 years in college and then declared eligible for the draft. And in his pro career, he had 39 tackles. I'm sorry, 39 games, 99 tackles. Okay. That's not too bad. His 40-yard dash is pretty respectable, 4.37. The only thing I'm worried about is that, he hasn't played really since 2023, right? So he had this last season off. Doesn't say what he was doing. Maybe, he was still training. I know we know a couple of different players that are, trying to get in with like the UFL or, heck, even just anywhere. And they're not taking any time off because that's where you lose your edge, right? You lose your step, you start getting rusty. So chances are this guy probably didn't take any time off either and is going to be, coming out with something to prove. What I do like, though, is that he's been added. If you go to pfnnewsroom.com, you can see the article by James Larson. And there's a lot of speculation about as good as San Antonio's defense was last year, they're going to be even better this year.
Yeah.
Right.
And we saw that with the college supplemental draft, with a lot of the signings and the picks that they've been making in this offseason. It's very much a Wade Phillips team where he's going to focus a lot on defense. So, and I didn't notice, I didn't really pay attention too much of Greedy stats. What I see, he was a former second round pick. Obviously, he has the talent to get drafted that high, and for whatever reason didn't work out in the NFL. Well, this is the perfect kind of player to come into the UFL. Somebody who has some talent and obviously the skill to play in the NFL, but for whatever reason, fell out of it, looking to get back. So, he's going to be hungry. Obviously, he's got second round talent. So, I think it's a great pickup.
Yeah. And sometimes those second round picks, they pick them, based on their athleticism, right? They have the skills, they have the drive, they have the willingness to learn. Maybe they don't. I said skills. Let me pull that part back. Maybe they don't have the skills yet, but skills are something that can be taught, right? Your work ethic, your drive, your hunger. Those are the things that can't really be taught, right?
Yeah.
And a kid who's willing to come in and put in the extra work and put in the extra time, and let's say practice is 3 hours, he's out there 5. Those are the kinds of guys that coaches are looking for especially if maybe their skill set isn't quite there, but their athleticism and their willingness to, work harder than anybody in the room. Those are the things that will get you, those higher draft picks. And so maybe that's what the situation here was, that, he was just pure raw athletic talent. And they thought, hey, maybe we can put some work into him and get an incredible pick here. And then maybe they just had the wrong coaching staff with him, or, who knows?
I mean, it's Cleveland. Of course, they had the wrong coaching staff.
That's why I'm bringing that up, right? No offense to any of our Browns fans, but maybe there was just a disconnect there, and so that's why he dropped and went to the Eagles. And then because he didn't get the fine tuning that he needed, the Eagles said, probably not for us. But again, like you said, that's the perfect candidate for this league, because this is where opportunity meets whatever The Rock said. But you've got coaches like Wade Phillips and what's his name up in Arlington that are looking to try and, well, even potentially Becht, if he comes back to St. Louis. Nobody really knows what's going on there. But those are the types of coaches that are good at developing players and making this league, shine, right? Again, over on PFN Newsroom, there's a UFL to NFL tracker. And I didn't realize over the life of these programs how many players have actually been sent to the NFL, right? And like, we know about some of our guys. Let's see, for example, Cole Laval going to the Jets, right? And then Prince Emili going to the Falcons. Well, Prince is back, right? And but I mean, if you look at this list, man, it is an extensive list. I have not had a chance to count all the names on it, but you've got over 100 people that are going to be, or that have gone from the UFL or XFL, USFL to the big show. And so this is this is the evidence that we needed. We've talked about it before, but this is the kind of evidence that we need to, show that a league like this needs to be around and it needs to be supported, because you could potentially be watching, the next Kurt Warner story, right? Or, insert, player name here. These cats are hungry. They're putting in the work. They're putting in the effort because they want to prove that they've got the talent, to be in the big show. And I would say probably for most of them, it's not even necessarily about the money or the prestige or anything like that, but to be able to compete at the highest level because they feel they've got what it takes to be there with the OBJs, the, you name it. And I only threw in OBJ because our guy, Greedy Williams, they've got a video of it at practice, actually cut a route on OBJ and intercepted. Or you got a pick off of him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's not like the guy doesn't have talent. I mean, he's going to potentially be a very serious force to be reckoned with. Now, we don't normally talk about a whole bunch of other teams. We know Luis Perez re-signed with the Renegades. Not sure how that's going to work out in the rotation. Is he going to be QB2? Is he going to be QB1? How's that all going to work out? However, we did talk about this individual last season, and that's Alex Magoo, who went to the Green Bay Packers, and he was on the practice squad. Kind of surprised me with his talent level that he was on the practice squad, but I get it, right? Well, he's coming back, and he's going to be with Birmingham, and chances are he's
as
probably
a quarterback. He didn't, we know he changed position to a wide receiver while on Green Bay. He came to Birmingham as a quarterback.
Yeah, he came back as a quarterback.
He didn't stick with his position swap.
Mm-hmm. Well, and MVP quarterback for the USFL Birmingham Stallions. So he's coming back, but speculation is that he's going to be QB2, right? So then that makes you wonder because what the hell is his name?
Adrian
Martinez. There you go. Yeah, Adrian Martinez. We've not heard if
So
he's
he's
coming
not
back.
he's not on the team yet, right? It's just right now they've just got Magoo and Coral
Yeah.
as their quarterbacks.
hmm And so there's speculation that Coral may not, maybe the guy may not be the guy. Uh, it's definitely there's a quarterback, battle brewing in Birmingham that we're going to want to keep an eye on because that could determine how that whole season goes. I mean, both of them have their strengths that you have to respect.
Yeah.
So, you know, are they going to come back and win it all again and be back to back UFL champions? I don't think so. And the reason why though is because I really think that everybody is trying to fine tune their game plan. We know Memphis, did a lot of restructuring. Houston is, looking to put that horrible season from last year behind them, and they've got a lot to prove. They've got a chip on their shoulder. A lot of teams, even San Antonio, made it to the big dance and fell flat on their face. So there's going to be a lot to prove there. I believe it was our friend Royce Waxenfelter, Viking Wax Press on social media, who posted it. I don't remember exactly who posted it, but XFL Mike G shared the poll. Which team has the most to prove this season? So let me ask you, B, who do you think has the most to prove?
As much as I dislike this team, I think it's the Battle Chickens because they've got the biggest fan base attendance at their games,
Mm-hmm.
but they haven't done crap. They they didn't make the playoffs the first year of the XFL. They lost pretty handedly to us in the playoffs this last season. They've got a brand new field, brand new lights. They've still got the same dust, but they've got a better looking field and stuff. And they need to have the team to match that field. And they've got a lot to prove. Yeah, if they want to consider themselves one of the best teams in the league, they got to start acting like it.
Yeah. So XFL Mike G hitting us with the headlines while we're doing our thing, right? It's kind of nice having a supporting staff, especially somebody who actually knows what they're doing and what they're talking about. But it looks like Martinez signed a 1-year deal with New York, so he's not going to be coming back. Especially, I mean, considering his 1-year deal is worth $840,000, and he's
Yeah.
going to make like what 60 in the UFL. So I think he'd be sticking there.
But I think he was third string quarterback for the Jets. He wasn't because it was Aaron and who was his backup? It was Reed Sit
No,
not Reed Sit. Oh God, he was the Steelers quarterback. Kenny Pickett.
oh, maybe.
I think it's Kenny Pickett
Yeah,
was the backup, and I think Martinez was third string.
yeah. So I shared it, but Demarcus Colors Colors gets the XFL conference poll shout out, and then Viking Wax Press did the USFL one.
Oh, okay.
But again, St. Louis, because of everything that's going on, and because of the fact that they fell flat on their face in their own home, I
It's easy to say. It's easy to say the Brahmas, because we're Brahmas fans and because we had such a terrible showing in the championship. But I think
Mhm.
we had a damn good season across the board, and
Yeah.
I think that and it was surprising for everybody. So I don't, as much as that championship game sucked to watch to be at. I don't think we have anything, a whole lot to prove this next season. Just continue what we did. I think St. Louis has stuff to prove this season.
Right.
They really are the team that their fans want them to be.
Right. And I agree with you. I think the team itself has a goal, has a mission. that's going to be driving them this whole entire season. But I don't think it's that they're going out there to prove everybody wrong, right? Even though we're still, counted out already as, being like the third weakest team in the UFL. And that's fine,
No,
right?
that was made by a bunch of Battle Chicken fans. So
Yeah, and
they can
again,
suck it.
yeah, whatever. Um, but the one team I think that does have something to prove, uh, I think it's really kind of coming down to uh, potentially Arlington or DC. And the reason why I say that is because, both of those were champion. DC was a champion caliber team 2 years ago, right? And let Arlington kind of, get ahead of them and they could never catch up.
Yeah.
That's not the way they played the entire season. They pretty much handled everybody the entire season. Arlington, I think, was a fluke. And then, we saw just how rough they were last season. And Jackie, that's abuse right there. I will report that. But so I think, honestly, of all the teams, like, we don't really know much about Michigan. We don't really know much about Memphis. I know Memphis was a decent team, but I don't think their dip last season was maybe that much of a surprise to their fans. And then Birmingham, you knew what Birmingham was going to do. So Birmingham has nothing to prove other than, winning it just so their fans don't freaking riot, because they want this four-peat, whatever nonsense. And oh, by the way, side note, I can't remember the poster's name, but there was somebody who jumped on. Oh, look, nerd.
Wow.
Yep.
Rude.
Um, there was somebody from the Green Bay Packers social media was making a comment about the Chiefs potentially three-peating, right? And it's something that Green Bay did before the NFL was actually a thing. Back when we had the NFL conference championships, that was essentially the Super Bowl. Green Bay had won several back-to-back and three-peated at one point. So they made a social media comment, we might know a little something about three-peating. And the Stallions fan jumped in and made a comment about something like, be quiet, nobody's talking to you, we're the only true three-peat champions or something like that. And it was like, wait a minute. No, you're not. No, you're not. Okay.
Yeah.
You won 2 USFL championships and 1 UFL championship. Not the same.
I will continue to say it. Nobody cares about championships from a league that no longer exists.
True. Again, perfect example. Green Bay talking about their 13, NFC World Championships from, back in the leather helmet days. Nobody cares about that because it's not the NFL, So again, you guys can, make yourselves happy, placate yourselves all you want. We're talking about, this three-peat nonsense. But real sports fans know none of that matters. Okay. What matters is the league you're in right now, the only one that exists, which is the UFL. And you won one. Okay. And you won't win another one. Mark it down. Now, there have been some other signings that San Antonio has done. We talked about Prince coming back and Williams joining the squad, and just some of the moves that Phillips and company have made. I mean, there's a lot of speculation. Everybody's talking about, how great their teams are going to be and everything like that. But I'm telling you, there's something different about this year that makes me a little nervous for the rest of the league. Okay. We played with a little bit of anger last year. I think this season we're going to play with a lot of anger.
Oh yeah, well, like we've been saying, last season was Revenge
Revenge?
season. This season's payback season.
Yeah. So, I am concerned for quarterbacks like Perez, who know how nasty it can get out there and signed up for it anyways. And I still haven't heard anything from AJ where he's going to land. We don't know.
I'm assuming he's just going to retire at this point. I kind of thought that when actually, hell, I thought that at the end of last season. I thought he was going to retire anyways, and especially when the St. Louis released him.
Yeah. The Stallions have signed a couple of players. They're looking pretty decent. Memphis is trying to make some really big moves, to kind of bolster their squad up. And it's just it's gonna be great. It's gonna be super exciting. But like I said last week, we're getting to that point now where as the NFL is winding down, UFL is starting to wind up. As far as any of the other leagues right now, there really isn't a whole bunch, going on. We haven't heard anything from like AF1. There's still kind of the speculation about the IFA, whether they're actually going to, go or not because of the whole Baltimore controversy. And there's another one, and I've got to bring it up so we can talk about it. There's apparently a startup league going around, MLF football. Okay. The reason why I bring that up is because it's there's a gentleman that's reaching out to people and asking for investments, and you can become
because that's how you want to start your league.
Yeah, you can become a founding member of the NFL for as low as $100 per share. Right. I bring that up because one of our acquaintances through the Brahmas group unfortunately kind of got suckered by this at one point in time. So if you guys are going to be doing any of this stuff, make sure that you're checking all this out. Okay. Don't just buy in because you think it's going to be an opportunity, right? There's people that take advantage of the goodness of people who just love sports. So if you're going to
did they say, hey, you can buy in and get a share? I just need you to go get 4 Visa gift cards in the amount of $50 each.
Almost. It doesn't say how to get them the money, but it does say, for the low price of $100 a share, you too could be, part of San Antonio history. And the problem is, we've tried a bunch of different leagues here before. The only one that seems to actually be working is the only one that really has any kind of backing and connection with the NFL, So, if you want to start your arena team and call it MLF, that's fine. But this isn't going to last. So
pro tip, if you see a startup league asking for money, don't give them any.
Yes, 100%. Right. Just like the guy that's getting in the Mercedes-Benz that has the sign, hungry, need money.
Yeah.
Probably don't want to give that dude any money. Right.
Yeah.
Anyways. So yeah, nothing really going on in the Arena League, nothing really going on in IFA, but there should be movement soon, right? Probably February, right after the Super Bowl. You're definitely going to see an uptick in information going on, and things are just going to kind of get cranking. With that being the case, there really isn't too terribly much to talk about, but we probably should touch on the NFL awards, right? Which they'll be announcing those awards next this Thursday,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, this Thursday is when the NFL awards show is.
Okay. And where are we kind of standing with those awards?
So that's kind of they've got a few of them. Obviously, the big one, the big one's MVP, and I think it's between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I'm going for Josh Allen. I think you look at the record. Bills had a much better record than the Ravens did, and Josh Allen didn't have the help that Lamar had. Lamar had Derrick Henry right next to him. Cook is a good running back, but he's not on the level of Derrick Henry. I think Josh Allen had a lot more to do with having throw a team on his back and carry him to that record. So I mean, Lamar's a fantastic quarterback, deserves to be in the running, but I do believe that Josh Allen should be MVP over Lamar.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It looks like it's down to uh, probably Josh Allen and Saquon. Saquon had, a really good year this year, but I don't know that he did quite as much as Josh Allen did. I mean, Josh Allen really pretty much carried the team on his back. So,
Yeah,
um,
I think Saquon. I don't think he's going to have a shot for the MVP. I think he has a chance for Offensive Player of the Year. Um, but my vote would, if I had one. I don't. I'm not an NFL writer, but my theoretical vote actually goes to Jamar Chase for the wide receiver triple crown. Most catches, most yards, most touchdowns.
yeah,
The year that Jamar Chase had has been phenomenal. I mean, Saquon had a great year as well, but I think it should go to Jamar.
yeah. I don't disagree with you at all. I think defensive player of the year toss up. I really like Garrett in this one. He's done,
Myles Garrett.
yeah, he's done a heck of a lot this season, and at least put some kind of spark in the Browns.
He did. I
So
mean, he was the one bright spot on the Browns. I mean, he's a phenomenal defensive player. But I'm going with same conference, same division, but I'm going Trey Henderson from the Bengals. I mean, that man was a beast in the backfield.
I could see that.
Just getting sacks. Phenomenal year for him.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. We talked about offensive player of the year, rookie of the year. Uh, I mean, arguably Jaden Daniels should be running away with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know Bo Nix was, I think he's kind of was in the conversation a little bit. He had a great rookie season. There's the tight end from the Raiders who had a record-setting year for tight ends. But I think Jaden Daniels is far above and beyond Nix and the tight end from Raiders. I forget his name, but I mean he had a phenomenal year. And
yeah,
no chance that he's not going to win Offensive Rookie
yeah.
of the Year.
We could go into defensive rookie of the year, but I think probably the bigger one that I'm looking at is comeback player of the year, right? Um, and you've got Burrow, Darnold, Dobbins, Gonzalez, and Hamlin all in that conversation. Now, DeMar Hamlin, wasn't that the individual you were talking about that died on the field
Yeah, like 2
and
years ago,
he came
that
back?
died on the field. I mean, everybody knows. What they shut the game down, closed it, and had to take him off, resuscitate him on the field, move him in the ambulance. That was 2 years ago. Last year he came back, but he only played like 4 or 5 snaps in like 2 or 3 games. He hardly played at all. He was still rehabbing. This year he was, I mean, phenomenal. I mean, he played damn near every game. He was, he wasn't just a guy that came in a couple snaps. Like he was starting defensive player and had interceptions, had pass breakups. He was effective, and just from one to another, he's my choice for that. Um, I think they kind of changed the rules of comeback player of the year, wanting it to be a player who was seriously injured the year before, which I don't like that,
No.
and so I think that's why uh God, my mind just went blank. Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow.
Burrow?
That's why he's so high up in the rankings, because he had a season-ending injury last year and came back, which would be his second comeback player of the year. I don't think that's what this award should be about. I think it should be about like the DeMar Hamlins, the one who overcome, you know, something terrible. Even Sam Darnold, who was written off by the entire league, basically, like, here, Vikings, let me just throw you a contract because we need freaking someone to be on this roster with our rookie quarterback who ended up having a phenomenal season. Like that, I don't want to give it to a really good quarterback who was just, hurt one year so he couldn't play. Like that
Yeah.
player should that doesn't comeback player to me. That's, you were good but you were hurt. I want I want the stories that are, you were down and out and you picked yourself back up and you fought back. That's who I want to win comeback player of the year.
I agree. And I I get what you're saying, right? I wouldn't have Sam Darnold in that conversation, right? He had one good year. Uh yeah, I mean the league had essentially written him off. Um, but it's because it's Sam Darnold, you know. So I'm glad that he had this one good year. He's going to get written off by the league again this next year, right? Vikings most likely are going to move on. He was on a 1 year contract. If they do sign him, he's going to be the backup, right? Because they have invested in their rookie, and they're going to want to see stuff there.
I mean, but
And
if they can get a couple more years out of Darnold teaching the rookie, then it's a good investment. I mean, we've
maybe
seen how many, you know, not that many rookie first, second year quarterbacks can get thrown into being a starter and be uber successful. I mean, for
true,
for every Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud, there's a million Justin Fields and Jamar Russells. So you know,
true.
sit behind a quality quarterback for a couple of years and learn. That's we've seen year after year after year after year that's how you produce a winning quarterback.
Yeah, but so those are kind of the awards that are coming up. Um, Give a shout out to Dirty Toro just because you got to respect a guy like that. Um, I've got to ask B. You saw the presser, okay? As a Cowboys fan, where does Cowboys Nation stand?
I mean, obviously we're talking about Cowboys adding their head coach
Mm-hmm.
Schottenheimer. Um, you know, I'm not as jump off a cliff as a lot of the fans are. Um, I understand why they made the decision. I think the offense, Dak, CeeDee Lamb, the heavy hitters on the team, they want, they were asking to keep McCarthy, and obviously that didn't work out because the years of when contract terms were not agreed upon. Um, but they wanted some consistency with what they've had in the previous years. Um, Schottenheimer gives them that. Like the offense hasn't been terrible when Dax has not been injured. I mean, I think the offensive problems are because of Dak and not because of coaching. Uh, so I think it's kind of a safe, easy pick. Obviously, we got the news today that Matt Eberflus was hired as the defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I kind of ignored his years with the Bears because, it's the Bears. when he was a defensive coordinator for Indiana before that, he actually had some pretty good defenses. They were, top 10 in turnovers, in points allowed, um, in just all kinds of different categories. Like he had really solid defenses. So that's, I think we talked about it last week. There's coaches they're really good coordinators. They're just crappy head coaches. And this might be something for Eberflus. Like he's a good defensive coordinator, but he just couldn't be a head coach. And again, like we're saying with Cleveland, it's also Chicago. So there's that. So I'm not down and out about the picks. I'm glad it wasn't Kellen Moore. Again, I think I said this before. Cowboys fans cheered when Kellen Moore got fired, and there's a reason for that. He was a terrible offensive coordinator, and I didn't want him as a head coach. I would have liked for it to have been, like a Pete Carroll or a Mike Tomlin. You get, pull him from Pittsburgh, a big name, but we weren't going to get it, and that's just, I think that's the nature of the Cowboys right now. I don't know what we're going to be, but whatever. I'm a fan, so part of the ship, part of the crew.
Yep. And I would say, sorry, guest host popping in there for a second. Stop. I would say that, well, you can relate to the pain that we went through in the 80s as Green Bay fans before we had our, almost 30 years of dominance, right? Robert, you missed out. Like we already talked about the UFL. So, this is what we closed the show with. So,
I will say, seeing them sign Schottenheimer for the coach, it did feel a little bit like when the Cowboys signed Zeke last year after, all the other running backs that were available signed with other teams. It was like, okay, it's a safe pick because this guy he knows the offense. He knows the team. So.
Right. And it's kind of like, well, there went a good one, but he cost a lot of money. Yeah. There went another one. This one, we're not sure what we're going to get. Hey, over here in the Walmart bin.
This guy. Yeah,
this guy. I think we can bank our future on this guy. It's like
at least we know he's not gonna cost his salary in burgers at Jerry World. So
100%. And I'm pretty sure Jerry's still on the hook for some more of those burgers for McCarthy.
Oh, he had to take out like a third mortgage for those.
Yes. But yeah, so things probably aren't going to be looking up anytime soon for Dallas. You never know. There's the off season. There's, free agency. You guys could get, some really good picks in the draft. Wow. How am I going to argue that? How do I argue that? Right. You give some dude the bag and he just leaves you holding it, Anyways, yeah. Hopefully there's help on the horizon for Jordan Love. Maybe some of these these UFL candidates that are, going through the program right now can make an impact on a team like Green Bay or Dallas. And we just have to wait and see. But right, that's the joys of being a fan of your team, right? You're with them when they're up, you're with them when they're down,
Yep.
And you take the knocks one way or the other, even as heartbreaking as it is, right?
Absolutely.
Let me preface the the Brett Favre era with a gentleman by the name of Dan Magic Man Magikowski. Okay. He was 2 quarterback points above Ryan Leaf. That's all I'm going to say. the great white hype. It was horrible. It was so bad. Um, and right, go pack, go. I 100% stick with my team through thick and thin. But man, do they have a way of letting us down. So,
Absolutely.
anyways, okay, so that's pretty much it for tonight's episode. I guess my meds have finally started kicking in. I'm finally, feeling a little bit better here, but I don't want to push it. So I think we're pretty much done. But obviously, we've got football coming up in 2 weeks. It's going to be the Supper Bowl.
Yeah.
Uh,
This week you've got the Pro Bowl. With you got like the dodgeball and flag football game and the skills challenge, and you've got some fun events. So I'll probably
Yep.
check some of those out.
Definitely. And then again, right, the season's winding down, so UFL season should be starting to crank up. So you're going to start hearing a lot more. Yeah, 100%. We definitely need to upgrade the corners. We need a little bit more help than that too. But UFL should be starting to really start cranking up information. The rosters should pretty much be full. I think there's only a couple more spots that like one or two teams have left. And, this year is going to be a little bit different, right? Because the rosters are going to be smaller again.
Yep.
And so there's going to be.
I think the rosters are going to be the same size that what was it, 48 players?
Yeah.
But I think the training camp rosters are going to be smaller this year than they were last year.
Maybe I thought it was the practice squad guys that were going to be. The number is going to be a little bit smaller. I have to go back and look. Anyways, either way, like things are going to be smaller, so the competition is going to be very, very tough.
Yep.
And you're definitely going to want to keep your eyes on the UFL because you're going to see some incredible football. You're going to see a bunch of young men that are hungry, that are trying to sharpen their skills to get to that next level. And potentially you could see as many as this year produced going to the NFL next year. Right, which I think we counted it was like almost 100 players this year.
Yeah, 90 something players.
Yeah, they got an opportunity. Now, that's not saying that they got on a squad or anything like that, but they got an opportunity. And Chase Garbers was not one of them. That's all I'm going to say. So,
you see, like you said, you see all the talent on the field, and if you go to the games, you're also going to see a couple of old jackasses having a hell of a time in the stands, and that's us too. So,
yep. So be prepared.
But
right. With that, definitely want to give a shout out, first of all, to our sponsor, W Energy Drink. I don't know why you guys aren't buying this stuff. It's not like I don't keep pushing it every single week, but I get it, right? But if you're interested in trying out some energy drink stuff, give them a shout. Like check it out through the link on our Facebook page. Also want to give a shout out to XFL Mike G coming in clutch when we needed some information. Appreciate that. Alternative Football Network. We always appreciate everything you guys do for us. Our friends Viking Wax Press, Rick 8-Bit, Brahma Bulletin. God, there's so many. Our sister station, Horns Forward Podcast, and Jackie coming in with the nerd comment. Of course, our friends over at Fuel Sports Network. Our friends over at Pro Arena Talk, and our friend Bobby Otten, who's always giving us information about arena stuff, which I haven't heard from him. I did message him a while back. Haven't heard from him in a while. Sure, he's probably, just chomping at the bit, waiting to get something. But that being the case, episode 96 is in the books, man. We're getting closer and closer. 3 more episodes, Brian, and it's the big 100.
That's right.
Okay. So make sure that you guys are watching. We're going to try and do something really big, really special. Blowed out both pant legs for this episode. So yeah, good times, man. You got anything else before we sign off, B?
Man, I don't think I have any suckets this week, so
yeah, you do.
We'll just see y'all next week.
Yeah, you do. You're not gonna.
It's always suck at Eagles, but I'm gonna save the big one for next week.
Yeah, but this week it's suck at Chiefs, right?
Nah.
Yeah, can't both
suck at refs.
Suck at refs. There you go.
There you go.
That's it. We're out.